Back in my cowboy hat. Well, I like to look butch. I'd also like to thank you for downloading. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to Rob's Feed today. This is episode number 68. And I'm Rob Schendel. I can't think of anything sexier for a good-looking man to be dressed in blue-collar style. Oh, he looks so butch. Good-looking and butch. In my attempts to be the same way, I'm wearing a blue work shirt, cowboy hat. I love that cowboy hat, as you know. Style is real important. And if style makes you butch, at least look butch, I love it. I'll be right back. Maybe you're a college student living in a dorm. Maybe you just live in a small studio apartment. What you need to do is get over to dormco.com/Rob. Once you're there, you'll find all kinds of items specifically designed for folks living in small spaces. That's dormco.com/Rob. Now, don't get me wrong. There are lots of styles I find attractive, and you don't always have to be a blue-collar construction worker or a cowboy. I love the Abercrombie look. I love the Hollister, the same thing. I love American Eagle clothes. I just bought a shirt today from American Eagle. But it's a butch plaid shirt. So. One of my all-time favorite shirts to wear is like a mechanic's shirt, you know, with your company name on one vest and your name on the other one. And I look good in those too. And if you're wearing one of those, I'm certainly going to notice you. Now, speaking of butch looking, you're going to love this segue. Oh, this is bad. Yesterday, the United States Senate confirmed President Obama's nominee to the United States Supreme Court of the United States, Elena Kagan. There's been a lot of speculation about her sexuality, her orientation. And, you know, she's not the most feminine, not the most beautiful woman, but I think she's going to be a damn fine Supreme Court justice. By the time you watch this episode, she will more than likely have been sworn in. So congratulations, Miss Kagan. Sorry I teased you there for a sec, but this is great. What we need now is for President Obama to have the opportunity to appoint another justice. Let's get this balance a little more in sync with the way our minds are in this country. But this has been an incredible week for those of us who are gay or progressive, at least. Now, the decision that Justice Vaughn Walker made yesterday, rejecting Proposition 8, was just wonderful. I'm still in the afterglow about it, and I'm sure most gay people in the country are. People were tweeting me this morning asking if I had a hangover. Well, no, I didn't actually celebrate with alcohol, but I did celebrate that. And then I read today that Mexico's Supreme Court, our neighbors to the south, they have approved the same equality in marriage provision down there. But then I was saddened to read that it pertains only to the state of Mexico City, not the whole nation of Mexico. So they've got a little bit of work to do. A little bit, it's probably a substantial amount of work to do there as well. But we're not done here either yet. But these baby steps are wonderful, and I can't really contain myself. So why is the right to marry someone of my same gender all that important to me? I don't have any prospects. There's nobody I would consider marrying right now. Nobody. I'm not even dating anybody. But the right to marry, why is that so fucking important to me? Well, it is important to me because that's the last thing that stands in the way of me as a gay man being 100% equal to every other man in this nation of ours. My lesbian friends, equal to every other woman in this nation of ours. It's a great country. And that's the last holdout, the last thing. Total 100% equality will only come to gay people when they, too, are allowed to marry who they choose, who they love. Now for a little bit of pop culture that I promised you earlier in the week. I have nothing to say except I'm bewildered because Ms. Cloris Leachman, remember her? Phyllis from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and also her own show, Phyllis. She's been on Dancing with the Stars, and she's done a number of things, but she made on the surface is a rude comment about Betty White, and we all know Betty White. It says, "I'm so sick of Betty White." Da, da, da. Well, I don't know the context. In the last few weeks, we've learned just don't take things on the surface. Remember Shirley Sherrod? So I'm just going to let it fly. I'm not going to make a comment one way or the other. I have a feeling Ms. Leachman was using that dry sense of humor of hers and just being funny. Now I want to talk to you about a really super gay podcast. Not mine. This is an audio podcast, and it's award-winning. It is the most ambitious project I think I've ever seen, and one of the pioneers in podcasting, LGBT podcasting for sure. Feast of Fun. It's produced by and hosted by Fausto Fernos and Mark Helian, a gay couple here in Chicago, and they have the greatest production values. They have the most interesting guests, and they interview some of the best topics. If you don't listen to Feast of Fun, do it. You can find it in iTunes. Go to feastoffun.com. It's wonderful. You won't regret it. I can't believe the amount of preparation that these guys must go through to produce this show and do it so well. It's an incredible amount of work, and I've learned that in just doing these little talks with you. In order to come up, I just fly by the seat of my pants. It's easy when a court decides that a marriage ban is unconstitutional or something, because that's real easy then. But when that isn't in the news, you're scanning everything everywhere looking for LGBT issues or entertainment shit or political stuff that I think would be important or at least interesting to the people. But these guys are masters at it, and my hat should be off to them. Now this week they presented an episode that I guess they had recorded a while back, but it was with great Carol Channing. Hello, Dolly. Here I was talking about being Butch, and now I'm doing Carol Channing. Well, what a dynamite woman. I mean, what a wonderful career. How many Tony Awards she's received, and the films that she's been in, and most people know who Carol Channing is. And it was wonderful, and I so respect how they got this opportunity to talk to Carol Channing. And honestly, I would have done the same thing they did, but it gave me pause because I didn't feel that Ms. Channing had everything still there. At one point, she even handed the interview over, although briefly, to her husband to answer a question. And it's just a moral dilemma there. Then it would have been for me, at least. After all this work, should we go with this interview? Should we overlook these little flubs? Whatever. Or should we scratch the whole thing? It's a problem of age, and it will affect all of us, but I'm glad they kept it in. I guess, it gave me some insight. I actually went and researched a little bit more about her. She's 91 years old, according to Wikipedia, so she has her right to be a little scatterbrained, I think. She's earned it. She deserves it. Hi, Carol. You're one hell of a dolly. Earlier this week, I had talked about the fact that I had at one time been a nude model for art schools, and I wanted to correct something I said. Actually, I do it yet, but I said I supported myself on that, and that's not quite true. I misspoke there, because you can't support yourself being an art model. You might be able to make a nice living if you do pornography or something, but we're talking about an artistic situation that isn't erotic, but is an awful lot of work. Imagine trying to stand totally still, not moving a single muscle for ultimately hours, although you get a break every half hour or so. But it's not easy. And these are classroom situations largely. So although I was quite busy, I could go 5 days a week, 2 classes a day. Classes would be 2.5 hours each or so. You can't live on that. And suddenly school's over for the summer. There's 3 or 4 months when there's no business at all. So anyone aspiring to do the same, don't expect to live off of it. I was fortunate I had other resources at the time. But looking back, probably was my favorite job. But just the nature of the beast of me, as I said, they have all those pairs of eyes looking at your naked body. That's fun. I'm very happy with the way this podcast is going. It seems that new people are discovering Rob's Feed today, every day, and that's great. It's generating the interest, words of mouth perhaps, I don't know. But I'm very happy. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I hope you subscribe. You can subscribe easily enough right in iTunes. It'll be downloaded to your computer every time I release one. But I do need your help. I need your assistance. The iTunes podcast forum is the primary source of distribution for every podcast. And the way you get noticed in there is by having people rate and comment about your content, about your podcast. So the more people who rate, the higher up in the rankings it goes, the more visibility it gets. I please ask you, go into iTunes, rate and comment about this podcast. I would so appreciate it. And I'll even give you a shout out right here on the screen. And now, having said that, well, this butch little guy is going to say, just saying, that's all I'm going to say.